Hi guys, let's look at another Dynasty trade in today's little Dynasty video and Dynasty podcast if you're listening to it audio-wise. We're looking at a trade that went down in one of my Dynasty leagues. It's heading into its third season now, the Red Rock 30 Bernard King division, which is a 30-team Dynasty league, a 9-category head-to-head league. No penalties on guys that you can keep, no salary cap, no anything like that. You can keep guys for as long as you like. A 13-man roster as well. With that squad, and this was a trade that was done by a player who was taking over a new team. It was actually executed before the rookie draft, and this league has a 2-round 60-pick rookie draft in which only rookies can be drafted. So that's it. You'll see that trade that went down here before that draft. I thought it was a good idea to go back and have a look at this deal. Definitely a case of playing for the future or playing for the win now. So let's have a look at the details of this deal that did go down in the Bernard King division. It was just 2 teams involved, and on Fantrax, if you are playing Dynasty, you can actually do 3-team trades on Fantrax. Had a couple of those go down in a few of my leagues, which is really interesting to see. Team 1, who was the team who was taking over a new squad, they traded away Lauri Markkanen and the 18th pick in the 2018 rookie draft, which ended up being Ali Akobo. Now, that pick was then... the team 2 who received pick 18 didn't end up using pick 18 to pick. It got traded on, but it ended up being Ali Akobo. So we're going to use Ali Akobo for a comparison here. They also gave up a 2019 second-round pick, so that's probably going to be at the back end of that second round, in between 45 to 60 would be my guess. Of course, we don't know that. Don't know that for sure just at this point, but if I have a look at the projected standings on Basketball Monster for this league, we got to have a look at how it all pans out and where this team may end up being, and they're projected to be the second best team. So we're looking at a pick, let's say at worst case scenario, from 50 to 60 in the second round. So not all that valuable of a pick. In exchange for Lauri Markkanen and pick 18 in that second rounder, they got back DeAndre Jordan, they got back Nikola Mirotic, and they got back 2 first-round draft choices, the 2020 and 2022 first-round picks from a team who projects to be, I guess, a little bit better than mid-table, maybe about between the 10th to the 14th best team for this coming season. So we're talking about if things hold and they get development from these guys like Markkanen, they're getting that trade, maybe. You're talking about first-round picks in the 15 to 22 sort of a zone. The Markkanen injury hurts them this season and helps the value of that draft pick for this coming year as well, but that is taken into consideration there. So sort of a mid-round, 2 first-round mid-round picks, plus DeAndre Jordan, plus Nikola Mirotic. So for a start, Team 1 is getting back 4 assets versus giving up 3 assets. They're giving up 4 useful assets as opposed to 2 useful assets in that second round pick, which is not all that useful going from Team 1. So really it comes down to how highly are you valuing Lauri Markkanen. That pick 18 that Team 1 acquired, they also got that pick by trade. They had pick 11 and they traded away pick 11 and got back Cedi Osman and pick 18, which I think is a clear win for them in that scenario. Pick 11 ended up being Miles Bridges, and then they used that pick 18. So in the end, they traded away Markkanen and pick 11 for Cedi Osman plus the rest of this haul as well, which I think is a pretty decent haul to get back. So that's the framework of that trade. Let's have a look and see how it all makes sense in terms of value of these guys. Now, Lauri Markkanen is the best prospect in this group. He's 21 years of age. Of course, he's dealing with that elbow injury, which is probably going to cost him 15 to 20 games for this upcoming season. But this trade that was made is obviously about acquiring Markkanen for the long term. His PIPM numbers aren't as impressive as what you might think. A peak PIPM, according to Jacob Goldstein, of 0.40, but I still do think he does have top 25 potential. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 10 sort of a guy. The lack of defensive stats from Markkanen, as I always say, will hold him back. He might not be a guy who ever averages over a block per game. Might not ever be a power forward center guy who gets a high field goal percentage as well. He'll hit threes, he'll score. The rebounds are pretty good, more impressive than I thought they'd be for this guy coming out of college. But realistically, he looks to be a more dynamic offensive Domantas Sabonis, a poor defensive stats guy who can score, hit threes. Well, that's obviously different to Sabonis. high free throws, but the lack of defensive numbers, the lack of assists makes him, maybe it's Ryan Anderson-ish type, but a better offensive, more dynamic, more versatile offensive type of player, a better rebounder as well. So that's why his peak is higher there. I think he's probably a top 70, maybe pushing top 60 guy for this coming season as well. But you might need a couple of seasons to get to that top 25, and it's going to require an increase in efficiency pretty significantly from Markkanen to actually get there. Now, the other guy given away, which I'm using Okobo there as pick 18. As I said, this trade was made before the draft selection. Okobo's going into his age 21 season. His peak PIPM is only a negative 0.98, which is not horrible. It's a guy you could consider a starter at some point, but I'm not sure his peak upside is massive. According to my rough calculations, we're talking top 150. I could see him pushing a little bit higher than that. At this point, I don't think he's going to be the starter for this upcoming season. He may be in the rotation, but not necessarily. They may have Shaq Harrison backing up Devin Booker there for the majority of the time. It could be Okobo, it could be Melton taking some of that time. And I like what Okobo can do. He can score, he's efficient, he gets steals at a decent rate, he can get assists, the free throws are fine. I think he's got some upside, and maybe that top 150 is a little bit low. Maybe he can push into the top 100. So it's not a terrible asset, but in the end, the team that got Okobo in that trade got that draft pick didn't end up using that draft pick to make that pick to get Ali Okobo. On the other side, you've got the two best assets in this deal, Nikola Mirotic and DeAndre Jordan. Mirotic is age 27, a peak PIPM of 1.05, which is for this season. Decline probably coming after that. I think he can top out as a top 40 guy this season if everything goes right and the minutes are up. Not sure he gets there, but that's probably where he tops out. Whereas DeAndre Jordan, age 30, a peak PIPM of plus 2.08, by far the biggest of this group. That is for this season, and the drop-off, I think, comes pretty quickly for DeAndre. I think he's got top 25 peak for this season, but of course, that's talking punt free throws. He is a top 20 type of a talent in this sort of a league for this season coming. And as you said, like, he had the 11th pick this team won this season, so a team that was out of the playoffs last season, but based on the moves that he made, he is looking to be the second highest team in terms of projected standings, which is obviously pretty impressive to get up to that level, making those moves. So it is a clear win now move, and it's a big gain for this coming season. We're talking about gaining more points per game, a massive increase in rebounds, maybe an extra 6 rebounds per game when those guys you've got there, more blocks, higher field goal percentage, but you are losing in assist numbers most likely. You're losing in free throw percentage significantly. You're probably getting less threes, although Mirotic could actually win that threes category for you on his own. But that big bump in blocks, in rebounds, and field goal percentage is massively significant, and that's what you can see that league value gain of 0.7. The punt value is just taking turnovers away, so even increasing the turnover value there. You're getting two guys that are going to be every night parts of the rotation with pretty significant minutes, and that rebound boost and field goal percentage boost and block boost, even though Jordan's block numbers did decrease pretty significantly this season, it does help this team quite a bit. They have they're probably the best rebounding team in the entire league. One of the top 3 in field goal percentage, one of the top, I think they are the number 1 team in terms of blocks as well. Their threes were never strong. They're not great, but they're not terrible because Mirotic helps there. Their scoring is up in the top zone as well. So they're looking pretty strong for a team for this coming season. So in terms of for this year, there's a clear winner here, and that is the team that's getting Mirotic and Jordan in this deal as well, but they also got some first round picks out of it too, which is not a horrible, I think in the end, I always like to try and win now most of the time in Dynasty League. You're getting, Jordan might not be this guy anywhere past this season. I think he's probably got 2 years left, maybe. Mirotic's probably got 3 years at this sort of level, maybe 4 years. I think he might age off, might struggle with his aging a little bit once he gets to age 30, but he is still only 27. But you got the guys that push you to try and win this season, which is huge. He also made moves to get Ricky Rubio this season. He traded Fred VanVleet to get Rubio, so really going all in on winning this season. Plus, you do get 2 first-round assets out of it as well, which might not be great, but you can still at least add that to it and have 2 first-round picks in the coming seasons. I think that's value. Now, the person acquiring Markkanen, they must have been pretty high on getting him, obviously, and think that he does have the ability, as I suggested, to be that guy who does become that top 25 player. But in the end, you're acquiring Markkanen, plus you're giving up, and you get a first-round pick back, but you're giving up 2 first-rounders as well. So there is a significant risk in that strategy for this team. Now, again, that they did make other moves and didn't end up keeping that pick 18, but it's still a risk to give up. As many assets in that trade as they did, and it's really putting a big premium on what Markkanen is going to be able to do, and having faith in him being able to do it. So whether he can actually get to that level or not remains to be seen, and that's I guess the big question mark that we're gonna have with this team and how this trade pans out. But that is the trade. That is how it all went down. Give me your opinions to this in the comments below. Who won the deal? What side would you like to be on? But I think that Mirotic Jordan side plus getting 2 first-round picks is probably the way to go. So that's the way that I would lean in this dynasty deal. See you guys.